Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sitting with Sean, episode number 12. Today, I have a very, very special guest. Her name is Heather. Welcome, Heather.
Hello, Sean.
How are you doing today?
Doing very good. I just had a baby 2 weeks ago, so things have been a little hectic, but I'm really happy, like with everything that's happening in my life right now, and I'm just really grateful, and I'm here and I'm present, and that's the whole meaning to life at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Tell us how the baby's doing.
Oh, they're very good. I have my older one is 5, and then I have a 2-year old, and then the 2 week old.
Nice, nice. And what's the 2 week old's name? Or you have a special name?
His name is Coda.
Oh, nice. What does it mean?
Well, I know in like Lakota, it's like friend, ally, and then in Japanese, it actually means like loyalty or loyal one. And I learned that from a friend of mine, and I think it was the perfect name.
That is awesome. That is pretty awesome.
Go see daddy.
S- So, uh, so Heather, would you like to give a formal introduction of yourself?
Yes, my name is Heather. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska. I've been in recovery since December 2nd, 2018. That is the first day I was sober. I actually woke up in jail the day before, and that was. Can you go see Dad, please? And that was, you know, I didn't consider that my sober date. I considered that, like, I was still waking up. And so the second, and I didn't quite enter recovery at the time. I was in jail for a few months before I was accepted into a program that pretty much saved my life.
Yeah, definitely. So guys, I've known Heather. I've known Heather for about 2 years now. Um, sh- we really did like she's a part of the AKTCA, the alumni program I'm a part of. But I didn't really interact with her. I didn't really interact with a lot of people at first. I was kind of like I felt like a loner. And then we were doing a peer support training where I was training people, and Heather shared part of her story and her experience, strength, and hope, and I was like, holy crap, she's an amazing human being. So right off the bat, I want to thank you for being an amazing human being and a beacon for everybody in your community.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely. And
Hey, go
you
wash.
know,
Go ask Bobo.
Heather's Heather's been one of those people that has opened up and talked about a lot of what's going on with her, what has happened with her, and where she's at now, and I'm truly honored to call her a friend and sister, and she's just an amazing human being.
Sean, I was really happy to meet you too. Like when I first joined this program, it felt like it was like so small, and there was only a few of us, and
Yeah,
it was Carlos, Tommy, Steve. They pretty much like drew me into this, and um, there was like this trust that I felt with them that just they're amazing people. Ron, I think that's all this was started when I started, or all
yeah,
the people that were there when I started.
yeah. I'm proud to be a part of this journey that everybody's on, and proud to be have everybody be a part of my recovery because without them I wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be doing this. So, Heather, would you like to tell us a little bit about what it was like in your active addiction?
My active addiction, wow, it really started at a very early age. I was I was 10 when I had my first drink, and I grew up in a very alcoholic, abusive home. So my friend who had the first drink with me, was also in the same uh, similar home style, and yeah, we stole our parents' alcohol and drank and thought it was fun and it was the thing to do, because that's how we saw the people around us have fun. And that was just like the beginning. I didn't start doing more until I was 12 when a lot of harder drugs were introduced to me along with harder alcohol. It was no longer beer. I had my first taste of, I can't even remember what the first one. It was a dark liquor. I believe it was rum. And we just, that was where it started. Some things, I linked a lot of that, my unhappiness and my depression with drinking because it made me feel good. So that was what I did. Every hard point in my life, every time something bad or tragic happened, I would turn to drugs, alcohol, any other addictions. Sex was an addiction, and I just kept going and going, and like I felt like it just that was it. That was how my life was going to be, and that continued all the way up until I woke up in jail in 2018.
Yeah.
I had a few moments where I would try to sober up, but I think my um, where I was failing is that I did not take into accountability my own actions. And like I always just thought, if I just quit drinking, everything's gonna be okay. But then something would snap up in my head, like, um, we just talked about worst case scenarios, and I would instantly go to like the worst thing, and then I would dramatize like a simple little act in my head and make it into this huge deal when it was nothing, and I would drink over it and I would lose over it and I would self-destruct. And can you go see Bobo, please? Here, look, put Coco Melon on. I'm so sorry, I got my
It's
2 year old.
okay. No worries.
Here, Coco Melon. Here, can you go watch that with Bobo? Here. Okay. Where was I? um, well, I would play these. I would always play victim in my head.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I entered therapy that I realized where all of this was coming from, and it was a lot from my alcoholic parents. There was a lot of PTSD I had to deal with, a lot of neglect, a lot of it. I'm the trigger warning for some people that are listening. Like I grew up in a home where there was a lot of sexual abuse, and all that trauma. Like I built up in my head, and I always felt worthless. And I had a mother who would always tell me things like I would never amount to anything. I would never be a good mother. I would never be a good wife. And the only way I would ever be a good wife is laying on my back and taking it from somebody. And those are the things that she told me. My grandmother, she would tell me horrible things like the one thing that always stuck in my head is that she told me once a girl has sex, she's ruined for life. She's never going to be wanted or loved, and that really damaged my adolescent mind. And so like so that those are just like things that came out of my past that I carried. So the worthlessness, the hate, the I hated myself. Like I never felt like I would ever amount to anything. And like I would also hurt people a lot during my addiction. But my husband now, I was not good to him, and I was the one who cheated. I was the one who continued to speak with other men because that worthlessness, that it wasn't that I wanted to hurt him. That was not my intent. I still loved him. I still cared for him. But I was just so messed up here in my own head that I was not going to allow myself to be hurt by anybody. So I always constantly had to do the hurting. I did this to many family members. And I felt like, some people would. I always felt like some people would lie about me and make me a lot worse out to be than I really was. So I just continued to try to be the worst person, so that, like, at least they're not lying about me. So that was another thing that was I was protecting myself from. There was always constant just wreckage in my life. And yeah, and so when I woke up in jail, I was kind of relieved. Um, I knew before I woke up in jail that I wanted to change. I needed to change because I sobered up for a couple of years for my son, but something happened and I went right back into that spiral quick. And it was like, I think I was sober for a year and a half, maybe almost two, but the same stuff, just self-destruct. I have to hurt others, I have to hurt myself. And so when I got arrested, I remember looking at the police officer and I was so happy that he was there. Like, the old me would have been irritated, like, you're ruining my fun. I'm drinking, I'm
Yeah.
driving, I'm highly intoxicated. I got my partner in the seat next to me, my son's dad. He's intoxicated, and I'm driving, and I know I'm falling asleep at the wheel, so I know this is a dangerous situation. I know that I'm putting him in danger. I know all this, but I still don't care. But when I saw that police officer, he was not, like, I've been arrested before where I've been beaten up by the cops, but like for some reason I could see the look in his eyes, like he had concern, like he was scared for me, and
Yeah.
I felt that, and it felt so comforting. Like when he told me, he's like, we're gonna have to arrest you. I was like, okay, all right, let's go. And I got
Yeah.
up and I just happily went with the police officer. I happily got booked, and you know, even though that all that was happening, it still didn't feel right. I woke up, in jail the next day. I was getting sent to Highland, and my kid's dad and my grandparents, they were all trying to raise money to get me out. And when they all had the money to bail me out, I was like, no, no, I think I'm gonna stay in here for a while. And I knew about wellness court. I was denied the first time because I told them I didn't have a problem.
Yeah.
But this time I went before the judge and I just told them I needed help. And I remember crying, and I feel emotional about it now because, like, I was just like, help me, please. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to ask for help. How to I don't know how to stop. And so they got me in the wellness court, and it took 4 months. This was right after the earthquake, so everything was closed down, everything was delayed. But in that 4 months, like, I prepared myself mentally to keep my mind open, to try these things, to do whatever I needed to do to change those feelings of worthlessness and those feelings of self-hate and self-doubt, and that, I think, was the beginning, like the beginning of me wanting to do recovery, but I still was not ready. Still
Yeah.
wasn't ready to stay sober. I wasn't ready to change. And I don't think that moment came until I was out of jail. I was in the program, and I was at one of the alumni groups, or heading to one of the alumni groups, and somebody from my past, um, you know, he was a stalker pretty much. He saw me on the side of the road. He pulled up in his cab. He's working, right? He pulls up in his cab, doesn't care. He gets out, and he's trying to get me into go into his cab. Like he was like walking towards me and trying to grab my hand and try to pull me, like, you know, like, hey, come with me, you know, like I got some drinks, and hey, I got some blunts, and he was just going on and on about all the drugs and alcohol that he has on him. And I pulled away and I ran across the street because I was right across the street from the church. And I ran in there and I'm bawling and I'm crying and I'm talking about this guy who won't leave me alone. He's following me. And you know, I was in a room full of men, and every single one of them rolled their eyes at me, you know, like I'm just like this dramatic woman who's like crying over some guy. And I don't think anybody knew the danger that I felt at that moment, except for two of the guys who are actually in our alumni group, and they listened to me, and they didn't belittle what was happening to me. And that suddenly I felt like, you know, like I could trust these guys, and I could see in their eyes that they didn't want something from me, like a lot of men before, you know, like wanted something. They wanted something. They wanted to build a relationship to get something, but they didn't want anything out of me. And it was that day that I was okay, and I started sharing and I started opening up, and I didn't give a shit about those other guys that were in the group because they didn't matter. Like they made me feel at that moment that I didn't matter. I was not going to let them make me feel that way again, and that's where my strength came. That's where everything just opened up. And I lived with that for a few weeks until my mind and everything started crashing down again. I started feeling helpless and worthless, and I didn't like it. So I went to the treatment team, and I was like, I think I know what my problem is. I can't deal with what's going on in my head. I can't handle these feelings, and I need help. And they're like, okay, let's get you a mental health assessment. And the judge was like, we have one. We could probably get you in 2 weeks. And I was like, no, 2 weeks is too long. I need one now because I cannot handle. I can't do it. I don't know what this is, but I can't do it. And so they got me a mental health assessment the next day, and they got me in as quickly as they could. And I'm so thankful that I asked for help because
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it anymore. You know, like that was something needed to change.
Yeah, in those moments, like advocating for yourself and standing up for yourself and saying, "I'm not. That's not acceptable to me." That completely beneficial, and that benefited you perfectly. And I'm so glad that you did. So glad you did. And first off, right off the bat, I want to say I'm sorry for everything that happened in your life. You didn't deserve any of that. Um, Nobody deserves that treatment whatsoever. You didn't deserve what was said to you. Um, and that's terrible. That's a culture that needs to change, and we're working hard on changing that. And you didn't deserve any of the wrongful treatment that you got. And once again, I'm sorry that you went through that. I really am. Um, but next, you talked about associating, your substance of choice or substances and actions with happiness. Like you started to feel happy, and when you're using them, and I can relate, man. Like I loved I and I'll be the first to admit it. I loved getting drunk because I had the sense of like letting go. I didn't have to worry about anything around me. If I got completely wasted, I could wake up in the morning and blame it on the alcohol. I didn't have to take accountability for that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. But
But
ultimately, that was the problem. Was there was zero control over what I was doing, and my life spiraled out of control. And and using the substances of choice and using actions that we take as a trauma response, that that's completely understandable. It really is. It really is. And you've had a hard life.
yeah, I feel like I did, but I'm not gonna say that all that trauma made me stronger because it really didn't. That
No.
did not make me strong at all. I think you know I became a mom at a really young age, single mom at 19, and she passed away right before her third birthday, and I took that, horrible, and those experiences did not make me stronger. What made me stronger was realizing that I had a choice. Like I didn't have to allow my past to control me anymore. I had to let that go. I had to move forward. I had to learn how to love myself. Um, once I started to learn how to love myself and respect myself, I cut out so many people from my life just simply because if I didn't feel respected by them or love or any kind of connection, that was it. I cut the string. And
Yeah.
I did that to family members. I did that to siblings. I've done that to aunts, uncles, like a lot of people. And the more I learn about myself, the more I learn about my family, and the more I learn about what generational trauma is. Um, what a lot of what's coming to light now is boarding schools, and the more I learn about that, and the more I learn about my own family. Uh, my auntie, the youngest one, I think is 50s, 60s right now. She lived through the time where families or children were so taken away from uh, their native communities and their native families and put into boarding schools. And learning about that, like it really helps me to understand where they came from and where I am in, the family circle. And it brings a lot more understanding instead of hate and anger and
Yeah. You made a statement, and that statement actually has surfaced this past week. So saying that hearing that you said it, like kind of is like, wow, this is a God shot here. Um, is that my trauma didn't make me stronger? That's absolutely right. The word trauma is not meant to be empowering, and I think a lot of people get mixed up between recovery and trauma. Uh, recovery recovery makes you stronger. Trauma
yeah.
fucks you up good. It fucks you up good, and that's why we're here, right? We're here because of the trauma. We're here because of the traumatic events and experiences that we went through, and you know, I can completely relate. At first, I read it and I was like, I don't necessarily agree with that. The more that I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Okay, it's absolutely right. And then now that you're saying, I'm like, you know what? Okay, yeah, yeah. This rings even more true. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
thank you
think
for.
that made a lot of sense to me too, because a lot of people would always say like, I'm sorry you went through that, but all that made you stronger. Like, but like that didn't make me feel good, and I couldn't understand. I couldn't pinpoint the words that why that didn't click with me and why that I didn't like um that statement. It's just like when somebody loses somebody, you say something like, they're in a better place. And no, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't either. I wouldn't agree with that statement either. Um, and you talked about generational trauma. Explain generational trauma that from your standpoint.
Generational trauma. I can only speak on my experience of generational trauma because I'm Alaskan Native, and um, from what I see is that things that my grandparents went through, those beliefs and those the forced assimilation, the loss of culture, the loss of language, uh, all of that trauma was passed on to my parents. And like I said, my parents they weren't good people, and my mom was not a good person. She was a great friend. A lot of people remember her as being a great friend. She was not a mother, and but I'm not mad at her anymore. because I don't know what she went through in her life. I don't know what possessed her to be what she was to me and to my siblings and to our home. But I can understand now because, like I look at things that my grandmother says, and she still continues to believe. She is very brainwashed. She believes that Christianity is the only way, and that good girls have to be good girls, and they have to serve their men, and they have to learn how to cook, and they have to be, she's really uh, brainwashed, whitewashed. Uh, it just she has no culture. She has no language, and I could see that pains her, and that's where I stand now is I can understand that and I can break that cycle. I can break that cycle of abuse. I don't have to continue that with my children. Um, where I'm standing is I'm trying to learn more about my culture, more about my people. I'm trying to learn some of my languages. Honestly, there's not much of our language that's left. Um, my I think my biggest strength right now is knowing all of this and not projecting that towards my own children. I don't want them to grow up thinking. I want them to grow up knowing that the real history, but understanding that that is history, and we can move forward and still grow in a healthy lifestyle, in a healthy home, and um, I'm trying to end the prejudice that is within our family towards anybody. It just never made a lot of sense to me. But I think I'm personally blessed with being open to new experiences and new people and new cultures and new everything. Just an open mind, open mind, open heart.
What village does your family come from?
My family, my dad is from Grayling. My mom is from Shacklook. I was adopted by my stepdad, so I grew up in Pedro Bay in Iliamna, Bristol Bay area, and so those are those are people I grew up with, thinking that well, they are my family. They adopted me, and I have plenty of cousins and aunts and uncles who call me family from that pen. Um, my dad entered recovery before I did, so we've only been building a relationship for the past 7 years. So I'm getting to know more and more of that side of my family. Uh, Growing up, I didn't know him or the family or my bloodline, and that caused a lot of confusion um, as to who I was really biologically related to and everything. And yeah, that's a lot of different stuff for another time.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that. I have a participant that's native, and and he, I asked the question one time, and I said, "What can you give back to your community?" And this was just a broad question to the group, and he said, "I don't know what I can give back to my community." And I looked at him and I said, "Brother," I said, "the fact that you're here and that you're getting sober, that is what you can give back to your community." And,
Yes.
and he was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, Native Alaskans or Alaskan natives have been plagued with addiction for so long, and and there's been little to no hope. But you are that beacon of hope, and Heather, you're that beacon of hope. You're that change that your community needs, and that the Alaskan Native people need, and I believe in you wholeheartedly.
Thank you,
I do.
Sean. As you were describing that, it gave me goosebumps. That's something that wasn't told to me, but something I realized, uh, a couple years into recovery, because I have nieces, nephews, younger people within my community and within my family who do look up to me, and I didn't see it at first. At first I thought it was foreign to me. It was weird because like I never felt like I was a leader. I felt like like I was a good role model, honestly, to anybody. And when I had younger people coming up to me and asking me how do I do it, I was like, well, start by loving yourself. Um, do things for you, and after that you'll begin to see a change. The change
Yeah.
will come around you because I didn't explain like what loving yourself does, but that was what brought in my mind was just simply loving myself, and then everything around me changed.
Oh yeah, you have the power, and this is what we're not told when we enter into recovery, is that you have the power to change your environment around you just by you changing yourself. And that is that's crazy to think about, that one little action that you decide to take can affect everybody around you.
You really have to be selfish too. In our active addiction, we are selfish people. We are
Mhm.
very selfish, self-seeking. Being entering recovery and doing recovery is something that we have to switch that selfishness. We still have to be selfish because in order to in order to recover, how should I word this? In order to recover, you have to do it for yourself. You can't say, "Oh, I'm sobering up for my children," or "I'm going to sober up for my grandma. I'm going to sober up for you can't sober up for other people. You can't do things for other people. You got to be selfish. You got to do it for you and put that first because you, you can't do it for your kids because you can't do for them first what you need to do for yourself. In order, when you do something for yourself and you love yourself and you can, you know, you're whole, then you can give because then
Yeah,
there's more to give.
absolutely. I don't know if I told you this or not. I've had stints of sobriety where I was like a year or 2 years sober, and and every time, and I always did it for other people, and every time that person left, I was left to my own devices, and I was like, "Oh, I got nobody to be sober for. Fuck it." But
Yep.
now I'm doing it for myself, and I know that if something bad happens, I don't need to drink because I still have myself. I still have to wake up to myself. I still got to look at myself in the mirror. Yeah, I still got to hear the things that happen in here, and my life is much more beautiful now than it used to be because it was a controlled chaos. And I wouldn't even say controlled chaos; it was just chaos. It's madness. But so we talked a little bit about what led you into recovery, but what was your program like when you entered into therapeutic courts?
uh, what was it like for me? I was very, I fought it at first. I didn't like it. I didn't want to do it. Um, I didn't like anybody that was doing it. I didn't like I didn't like anybody. I was very, oh my goodness, I don't know why I was fighting it, but I remember somebody saying that they didn't think I would make it, and I could see why now. Yeah, I was very mad at the time when that was told to me. Like, yeah, fuck you, dude.
Hmm.
Like, who the hell do you think you are? But like, it was an honest statement from somebody who was telling me something that they honestly saw in me. And man, what was it like? Um, I took it with a grain of salt. Although I didn't like it, I still would remind myself of what I prepared for in jail. Okay, this is something I have to do for me. I gotta keep an open mind. I gotta try all these things that they want me to try. Um, I fought against AA. That AA was not something for me. It's not that I'm against religions. I felt uncomfortable with them. It just has a lot to do with my past, and But I went every single day. I found a sponsor. I found a mentor. I just did all the things. I hear a lot of people speak about MRT and how that changed them. What really stuck out for me in my program was um, I can't remember what exactly it was called, but we pretty much um, think about the future. You know, we think about scenarios. We write scenarios down, like our trigger warnings. That's what it was for me.
Relapse prevention.
Yes, relapse prevention. That was for me. That was like my recovery because I needed to know what my triggers were, and I needed to play the tape forward. And something I've never done. You know, I've always been very spontaneous. I'm gonna get drunk and I'm gonna go, you know, jump off the cliff into this river, and I'm not gonna think about the consequences. You know, I'm not gonna think that far ahead. I'm just gonna do it.
Hmm.
And that was always how I lived. And so looking at little scenarios like that and what could happen really helps me now because like I still, you know, every once in a while something will trigger me. And you know, I'm almost 4 years clean and sober now, but you know, little things will trigger me sometimes, and I'll think about using, and I'll feel it. I'll feel that high, and I'll crave it all of a sudden. But then I stop myself because I know exactly where that's going to go. And I know exactly how that's going to play out. And those feelings dissolve.
Yeah.
And so that, yeah.
Yeah, I did like relapse prevention too, because I never like you. I never really thought about. To be honest, I never thought that like certain things triggered me at all. I just thought my natural reaction to things was to drink, and I just thought it was instinctual, and so when I really started to find out, like, whoa, there are you have a relapse cycle, and you can stop it at any point. I didn't know I could stop it. I had no idea. I was like, I can stop at any point, and that was beneficial to learn, and building a relapse prevention plan. Like I loved every bit of it. It was great. Um, but I think a lot of people, like, if you, it's either like one of two things. When you get into the program, it's either you completely like surrender and you're like, okay, I'm doing this, and it's gonna be all good. And then there's like, let's resist until I can't resist anymore. And then that's when you're like, all right, I'm done. I give up. And I think that's a different dynamic, but it leads us both to the same place, and I'm so happy that you're here. I really am. I'm so happy that you're here. Um,
Thank you, John. I'm
no,
really
no
happy
problem.
you're able to find your way into this program as well.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I like you said you were happy, not necessarily happy that you were in jail, but like you knew at that point, like, I need help, and this is the only way I can get it. And at that point, like, when I was arrested and I was sitting in jail, I like, at the time I was like, man, fuck this, I don't want to be here. But looking back, I'm like, dude, that was like the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, getting arrested, sitting in jail for that amount of time, and it was really what I needed for me to be like, okay, things need to change, and if they don't change now, I'm gonna die.
Yep, that was the only options I had left over too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think another thing that I missed saying is that you know when I was in active addiction, I was waiting to die.
Hmm.
Like I didn't really care. I was I kind of I wanted it. You know, I wanted death because I didn't want to feel the way
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
I loved being in the program so much that you know, I took my time with everything. I wasn't trying to rush through MRT or relapse prevention or treatment for that matter. I wanted to stay there. I wanted to soak up everything I could. And when it came to me graduating from Aquila, I was scared. I didn't want to take that next step. I didn't want to graduate yet because I didn't know what to do with myself after that. Um, when it came close to even graduating the program, I was terrified. I didn't I didn't want to do it. um, I did. And when I graduated, and I wasn't being UA'd all the time, I did smoke a lot of weed. But the thing, I stopped myself because I started doing it like I would drinking. I would have to constantly do it, and I felt like there was just nothing. There was no groundwork. There was nowhere for me to go from graduating treatment.
Yeah.
And then I got a text message from Tommy. He was like, "Hey, we need a facilitator. Are you available? Are you interested?" And I was like, "Yes." I didn't even think anything of it. I just said yes, and uh, I think that kind of pulled me out of the funk a bit, because then I was like, I had to focus again, like I wanted to, like I can do this. I want to help people, and I just kept showing up, and that's what they all like. Everybody always tells me, just keep showing up, just show up, just keep coming back, and I think it's exactly what I needed because I'm here now. I'm I'm present. Um, I'm very. I love that I can be here. My family really needed me. We went through a few hard times and we lost a few people. Uh, my grandparents passed. My niece passed. She was very young. She was only 18. Uh, Accidental drug overdose. And I'm so thankful that I've been able to be present and be there. And death is not something that we look forward to or that we necessarily want to be there for, but I'm very grateful that I've been able to be there, not only um, sober and in the right mind, but also I can be there for my other family members who, we're all going through this together, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Um, and you talked about being present and being terrified to graduate the program. Dude, I was terrified. I didn't know what I was going to do. The way there was two way of life I knew, and one was active addiction, one was recovery, and I felt like I had no connection when I would leave the program, even though like my judge was like, "Oh, you can always go to alumni." I had no point of contact in alumni. I had no clue what alumni was, and then the clerk of courts contacted me, and she was like, "Hey, yeah, by the way, we want to start up a veterans group," and I was like, "That's cool. I don't know who to talk to," and so she pointed me in the way of Ron, and Ron was like, "Yeah, man, your family now." I was like, "I don't even know your last name, bro. Like, how can I be family? I don't even know your last name." But I understood what it meant and what they were trying to do, and so they corralled me in, and that was one of the best feelings because I'd never felt like I belonged anywhere, and now I feel like
Yeah.
a sense of belonging. So much so, like I enjoy going to groups now. I don't despise it. Yeah, yeah. But what? So what is it? What does your program look now like now for you?
Now, wow. I do stay connected. I've been a little distant lately because like I've had to work and try to prepare myself for maternity leave and all that other good stuff, and um, but I still talk to everybody. I still enjoy our group texts. At first, I hated being on that group text. I was so angry, so irritated. Like, why is my phone dinging? And like, it just goes ding, 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 and it's like everybody having a conversation. But then I enjoy that, because I still feel like I'm connected. I still feel like I'm part of them, and I can still reach out. And it's a lot easier for me now to talk about things when I need to talk about them. I could, when I feel like drinking or using, I know where to go. I know how to connect. I know what to do.
Mhm.
I still go to AA once in a while just to be around other people who are sober, and I I can call on our group of people at the alumni for anything. I called up Ron and Steve, and I was like, "Hey guys, I want to get married. And Ron is like, well, hey, I'm a he's a certified. What do you call that again?
Ordained minister.
Yes, he's an ordained minister. And I was like, all right, would you marry me and my husband to be? And they were like, yeah. So we got this little like group of like 9 people together, including my sister-in-laws and my nephews and nieces, and we just had this simple little ceremony. That's all I wanted, was a simple, small ceremony with people there that are meaningful to us, and the alumni are my family now, and I don't know what I would do without any of them. Um, I still keep my distance from everybody. I still notice I keep people at arm's length in a way. I do that to my husband. I do that to my kids sometimes. I'm very things. I'm not very affectionate, and those are things that I'm glad to know about myself, because like I could work with that, and then my family, I could tell them like I don't feel like being touched right now, and it's okay, and um, I continue to facilitate uh, when I can, because like I feel like even though I'm there for them and for the court, and I'm doing this for other people, like it does wonders for me. It continues to show me where I am, and when I'm facilitating a meeting and some people are just like, thank you for being our facilitator, thank you for sharing, or thank you for being here, thank you for listening, those little simple acts of kindness, or those words that I get from our participants, is just, it's mind blowing. Like I, I sometimes feel like I'm almost selfish, because I feel like I get more out of it than they do. But in reality, it's a give and take.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my children, they're not perfect, but they're not. They don't. I don't see in them what I saw in myself growing up, and I know, like I need to know. I know where to go for that too. I can go to parenting classes if I ever need to learn anything else, because there's programs like that too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you hit on learning something or getting something from every group that you facilitate. Uh, I get something from everyone that I do too, and it's insane. I could be in the worst mood ever, and then as soon as I click join meeting, I'm like, oh man, I feel so much better, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like something in the brain that clicks, and I'm like having a better mood. But I it could be a meeting that's super deep and super heavy hitting, but like I get something from it, and it helps me along, and then I come out of the meetings in a much better mood. My wife even is like, dude, you're in a great mood. I'm like, I know, I just got out of a meeting. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I could definitely relate. um uh but yeah, I mean, um I've been asked this question. I'm gonna ask you the question. If you could go back and do it all over again, would you?
Yes.
Or would you change anything?
No. I think everything kind of went exactly how it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Um, no, I definitely wouldn't change anything about it. It was something I needed to do and needed to go through.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say that I wouldn't change a single thing because if I did, then I don't know that I'd be right where I am today.
Yeah, I wish I would have been a lot kinder to myself. I guess that's one thing. Um, I wish I would have known that I needed to be kinder to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. What does being kinder to yourself look like?
um, not criticizing myself, not looking at little imperfections at myself in the mirror, not hating what my body looks like. I remember growing up, like I hated the color of my skin. I hated my broad nose. I hated my cheekbones, and I wanted a smaller face and a smaller frame, and I wanted to be skinnier, which didn't make any sense because I look at pictures of myself as a teenager and it looks like I really needed to eat. And you know, I would criticize even thinking things that I shouldn't be thinking, and I would hate myself, and I would tell myself, I would tear myself down and tear myself to pieces, and now, like, I love everything about me. I love my hair, I love my eyebrows, I love my nose, I love my skin color. I'm comfortable with who I am. I'm no longer feel like I could let other people walk all over me, and I just I love myself today, and I feel good in saying that and being able to say that. I There's people I talk to in recovery where they they feel uncomfortable saying that they love themselves, and I completely understand, and I know that feeling, and it took a lot of time to be able to say that.
Yeah. I can agree. I joke around about being short, like that's the thing, but that the joking around about being short is what now isn't so bad, but I used to be like, man, I really hate that I'm short because I get so much shit for it. And like, I haven't always been the biggest guy. I haven't always been the most, I don't have the biggest muscles. You know, uh, my hair's receding. Like all these self-conscious things, right? All these self-conscious things we look at in the mirror and we beat ourselves up over, but those are things we can't control. Like, I mean, I can control my eyebrows. People are like, dude, I love your eyebrows. I'm like, they're just eyebrows, man. They're just, they're just eyebrows, and they're like, "Oh, you got perfect woman eyebrows." I was like, I mean, that's cool, but like, they're just eyebrows to me, and those are
You do
things.
have some nice eyebrows. I have to
Yeah,
draw.
I gotta shave my unibrow because I start to look like a caterpillar. But, but and that's why I've had to learn to accept myself for who I am. The physical of me because um, I'm made the way that I was intended to be made. You know, there's nothing that I can do to change it. Sure, I could botch it. I could go and shave my eyebrows off and pencil them in, or I could go and I can't get any taller. I mean, let's be real, I can't get any taller. But I could do certain things, but that's not how I was intended to be made, and by my creator. And so I'm just grateful for to be alive today, and to be where I am at in my recovery. And I'm glad that you are where you're at in your recovery because we're amazing human beings when we're off out of our addictive personalities. Yeah, yeah. So anybody who's going through it or is thinking about getting into recovery or still in their active addiction and still on the fence, what advice would you give them?
Do it for yourself and be selfish in doing it.
Yeah,
That is exactly what worked for me. Um, I in the beginning I had to put my recovery before my son, and it didn't feel right at first, but it made a lot more sense when I realized the outcome
yeah,
and how it worked really. And yeah, because the more I was able to recover myself, is the more I was able to give to him, and the more I continue to be able to give to him and to my other children.
absolutely, absolutely. It starts with you.
Yes,
It does.
starts with me and ends with me, and that's
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Heather, thank you for being here. Uh, you're really an inspiration. You really are. I just want you to know that.
thank you, Sean.
You're an inspiration, and I'm glad that you're a part of my recovery, and I'm glad to call you friend and sister. I really am.
I'm really happy to call you brother, and just I'm so excited to be part of this, and I'm glad I'm proud of you. Starting
Thank you.
this channel is, it's something I definitely wanted to be a part of too, because this goes way beyond us, and
Yeah,
this is something that I mean, this mental health recovery movement, it still feels like it's so fresh, and it's just, it's something I wish we would have realized a lot sooner. Just simply being there for one another and helping one another and sharing our own stories. Who knew that that was, the beginning of recovery?
absolutely. You know, people are like, "Oh, you're doing such a good job," and I'm like, "Dude, it's not about me. This has nothing to do with me. I'm the catalyst. I'm literally the person that clicks the button, asks the questions, and that's it." Um, it when I shared my story, it wasn't for me. I didn't share my story for me. I shared it for the person that's struggling, the person that has some childhood trauma, the person that is an alcoholic or a veteran or an active duty service member that might see it. They're like, I can relate, and that's why I ask other people to be on the show. Is it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you getting your story out, because sometimes we don't have that opportunity to share our story and talk about those things that really bothered us and where we were at and what we're doing now, and it's also about showing the community and showing, normal people what's really normal now, to be honest. But it's about
Normal.
showing the yeah, normal. It's about showing those normal people that that we are better when we're away from our substance of choice. That we do recover and that we can recover, and that at the end of the day, we're human beings. We all make mistakes. Sometimes we make bigger mistakes than other people, but that doesn't matter because what you did in the past doesn't define who you are now. And so that's why I wanted to do this and get this started, and I'm so grateful that you are a part of this. You're gonna touch lives, I guarantee you. So with that, I we're gonna end the show. Thank you everybody for sitting with us for this hour. Thank you, Heather, for being here. It's always a pleasure to interact with you and talk to you.
Thank you so much, Sean, for this opportunity.
All right, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. Much love and happy Sunday, because it's Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Bye,
Thank you
guys.
for listening.